Hello everyone, this is Helios Raven. I tell you how to do it, even if you don't care. And we are continuing with our look at the vessels of the Imperium book in the Imperial Guard section, and we are up to Grand Cruiser class ships. Now, what is a Grand Cruiser? I'm really still trying to figure that out myself looking at the rules. From what I can see, they're cruisers that are not quite they're cruisers that are not quite cruiser category, but they're not quite battleship category. They're sort of in between. So they get their own section, and one thing I have noticed is with battleships, with fleets and such, battleships and grand cruisers can be fleeted together, but they can't be intermixed. So basically, if you want a grand cruiser to be squadroned up, you need another grand cruiser to squadron with it, if I understand the rule book correctly. So basically, these are like if you want a battleship, but you want to spend less points on them, type of thing. From the way I can understand it, because they're a little bit heftier than your regular battleship. For example, unless I say otherwise, most of them are going to have the stats of 10 hit points, 20 centimeter speed, 45-degree turns, 3 shields, 5 armor, and 3 turrets. And so with that, let's continue on. The first one is the Vengeance class Grand Cruiser. Now, looking at this one, this is definitely one of your... It's got slight long-range capability, but where its heart is mostly is in the close-range capability, the close-range section. It's got 2 port lance batteries. Actually, yeah, 2 port lances, which are lance batteries, which is strength 2, 45 centimeters, and it can fire them on its left or its right. And like say, lances are always really good, and this one has 2, so it's pretty decent. And it's got weapon batteries with range 60 centimeters with power 10 left and right. So at that stage of the game, it's more of a weapon battery type of thing. So this is good for, again, going up alongside and broadsiding ships to death. So, like I'd say, this is probably more better one if you have a bunch of escorts with it and run it straight up the middle and or run up along the side and try and get close enough to the ship to pelt it before it gets hit. And since it's got a pretty decent number of shields and hit points, it can take quite a beating. So it's a good chance you can get it there. Just in my opinion, I just not a big fan of the Grand Cruisers. But then again, the particular army I play doesn't allow me to have them. But in all, like I say, they're good supplements for battleships in case you don't want battleships in your army, but you want something a little bit heftier than a cruiser. The next ship in our class is the Avenger class Grand Cruiser. Now, also looking at this, just to make note, the models don't seem to change much. In case people are wondering, where can you find a Avenger class Grand Cruiser? Whereas they describe in the Warhammer, in the description of the video of the light cruisers, one pack creates all the cruisers that that the Imperial Codex, the Imperial Navy has. Whereas it looks like they only sell one particular Grand Cruiser. But looking at the images of these guys, you can get away with saying that that Vengeance class cruiser on the Gothic site is any of the Grand Cruisers in this fleet. You're not forced to make it a Vengeance class. Now, sorry about that little tidbit. Let's continue on with the Avenger class Grand Cruiser. Looking at this ship, it's basically, you're definitely, out of all of them, this is the close combat ship. This has 30 centimeter weapon batteries on its left and its right at power 16. I have yet to see something this powerful in the sections that we've looked at so far. As you may have noted, this is probably the most heavy-hitting ship with weapon batteries as of right now that we are aware of, and that's nothing to look down on. I mean, this ship will wreck any battleship, any cruiser, anything it gets alongside, it will destroy. Problem is because it's got such a heavy-hitting firepower, it's going to take a lot of shots. So you definitely want to have something around protecting this ship to try and give it its cover so it can get where it needs to and destroy whatever it needs to get to, because this thing will definitely rip apart anything it gets in close combat with. So if you want something that's going to dominate like close combat weak armies like the Eldar, definitely the Avenger class Grand Cruiser is the one to go with that one. And the next one is a let me just get this is a Exorcist Grand Cruiser. Now, looking at this guy, this is more your anti-ordnance cruiser out of all of them. It's got a 45 range centimeter weapon battery on its left and right at strength 8, so it can hold its own against close combat. But again, where it close combat, but it's not as great as some of the other cruisers we've seen in terms of it. And the only other thing it has is launch ports, which can either support, which you can either launch fighters or bombers, 2 squadrons each. And so it's pretty good with anti-ordnance or launching ordnance itself. And it's, again, decent at close combat, so this is also one of these ships where you'd bring it up the front and launch ordnance to either take down the enemy vessels beforehand or weaken them, or to take out any ordnance that may be launched your way, especially if you're fighting guys like Tau who just love the ordnance launching. And also a note is the Light of Ascensions was fitted with shorter range but more powerful weapon batteries. Reduce the range of the weapon batteries to 30 centimeters and increase its firepower to 10 at no extra point cost. And like I've mentioned in the video description before, what that basically is with these Imperial ships is they're assuming that this battle takes place in the Gothic center, where there are certainly famous ships. And to get some of these upgrades, you have to name the ship the particular name to get the upgrades. So there's some people who may be, very rules lawyery, who's like, no, that's not the Light of Ascension, so you can't take that upgrade. Or you could have a really laid back guy goes, it's an Exorcist cruiser, or I don't care what its name, take the upgrade if you want. So just to keep that in mind when looking at these cruisers and all that kind of stuff. So all in all, that is basically all the Grand Cruisers that I have here in my listings. My 2 cents, like I said, they have their good strong points, like the ones are really great for long range. The Avenger class is like by far the most superior close combat vehicle ship that we've seen. In terms of putting them in an army, I don't know if they're really worth it. I'd probably bother if you have a cruiser that's if you have a cruiser that you put some upgrades on that equal out to some of the points of the Grand Cruisers here, then you might want to switch it out for a Grand Cruiser. But all in all, I probably wouldn't focus on making Grand Cruisers part of my naval fleet. But then again, that's just me. If they suit your needs, then go ahead. But like I said, the only really time I would get them is if I upgrade a ship and I upgrade a ship and it ends up being the same point cost as, say, just for example, the Avenger class. Might as well take the Avenger class if he's only 10 points more to get more armor, to get a little bit better hit points, and a lot more shooting power than some of the other cruisers we have. And looking at our time, that's all the time we have, and we basically are out of Grand Cruisers, and when we get back, we will talk about the battle cruisers. So, until next time, this is Helios Raven, signing off.